Welcome to the only year-end list that matters. And you know it's the only one that matters because I'm wearing a tie, okay? I'm dressed up for this. 2024 was a big year for music. I mean, you had the Kendrick and Drake beef. You had a bunch of pop albums just taken over, like Brat, Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan. You had a lot of breakout artists. You had a lot of legends returning with some of their best work. And today I'm gonna be covering it all in my top 50 albums of 2024. I'm gonna get things started off here with some honorable mentions. These include Mannequin Pussy's I Got Heaven, Chief Keef's Almighty So 2, Denzel Curry's King of the Mischievous South Volume 2, Willow's Empathogen, and Fontaine's DC's Romance. With that out of the way, we're gonna get into the top 50 list. I'm gonna fly through the top 50 to 30. Once we get into the top 30, I'll take a bit more time on each album. Coming in at number 50, I have Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish.
Open up the door, can you open up the door?
This record feels like a fulfilling exercise in attempting to free yourself from industry pressure and expectations. The unconventional rollout, adventurous song structures that challenge current pop standards, and the admirable yet sometimes confusing genre switch-ups culminate to create something that feels intimately cared for by both Billie and Finneas. Coming in at number 49, I have Shadowbox by Mavi.
I'm back in my boogie, I'm out of the cleaner. She tell me I'm me when I get in my jam.
This is Mavi's most varied project to date. If you're looking for some thought-provoking and emotionally poignant abstract hip-hop, look no further than this record. Coming in at number 48, I have You Only Die Once by Freddie Gibbs.
Yeah, Eastside, I claim that. I recorded my first rap song, 47th, I flame that.
Freddie Gibbs is just such a skilled rapper that even his more underwhelming projects are still going to be one of the better albums of any given year. Coming in at number 47, I have My Story Got Stories by Bruiser Wolf.
I wonder if they could tell I'm a dope boy. My first toy was a scale, I had no choice.
What on the surface may seem like kind of just a guy with a bunch of goofy voices is actually some extremely clever and thought-provoking performances. It's colorful and hilarious, but also knows when to take itself seriously. At number 46, I have What Now by Brittany Howard. Howard's powerhouse vocals serve as a way to ground this kind of abstract and kaleidoscopic neo-soul extravaganza. At number 45, I have Tank by Idols. The production on this is just so good. The guitar tones are explosive and really textured, and there's also some really adventurous percussion work. Just a really good rock record all around. At number 44, I have Triple Digits by Richie.
We flip this place upside down, it's sticky on the floor. Outside is dry in here, feel like Floridian coast.
As we've come to expect from Injury Reserve, and in this case, an Injury Reserve adjacent project, the production is going to be extremely strange and hard to pin down, and this is no exception. At number 43, I have What a Devastating Turn of Events by Rachel Chinariri.
Just a little more time, was it really that hard to do?
Before this album came out, it had been a while since I'd listened to Rachel's music, but what stands out about this in comparison to her earlier work is just how much more ambitious it is instrumentally. At number 42, I have 13-inch Frank Beltram Italian Stiletto with Bison Horn Grips by Shoo Shoo. This is one of the easiest to listen Shoo Shoo albums I've heard in a while. It's a little unfocused and all over the place at times, but technically speaking, there's a lot of impressive production and stylistic fusions here. At number 41, I have As Grand As by Grand Mahogany. With its animated vocals and bubbly guitars, this is some extremely dense and downright nasty funk. At number 40, I have Strange Burden by Font. If you're an enjoyer of bands like Squid and Model Actress, make sure to go give this a listen. It's bombastic, unsettling, and has some pretty good grooves as well. At number 39, I have Blue Lips by Schoolboy Q.
I'm snatching niggas' wave caps off, gang cats off. Fuck your set, hat gets soaked.
This album constantly switches between visceral trap bangers and smooth and soulful songs, and does so pretty effortlessly. At number 38, I have A Dream Is All We Know by the Lemon Twigs. The Lemon Twigs are striking while the iron is hot with this record, and following up the success of their album from last year that kind of follows in the same footsteps stylistically. It's just some solid 70s soft rock that pays homage to bands like the Beatles and the Beach Boys. At number 37, I have Everybody Can't Go by Benny the Butcher.
I've been on so long, people starting to hate it, they feel scorn.
Menacing pianos, stellar production, hungry flows, and a solid feature list make this a solid addition to the Griselda catalog. While it might not stand out in one specific area, it's just a consistently solid record. At number 36, I have Alligator Bites Never Heal by Doechii.
Tell a bitch who fly. Step up in this bitch, I look too fly.
It's been a big year for Doechii, from receiving a Grammy nom for Best New Artist, to having viral TikTok hits, to her standout feature on Tyler's Chromacopia. I just hope this album doesn't get overshadowed by that, because it's a genuinely impressive album that really puts Doechii's versatile and colorful vocal delivery and flows on full display. At number 35, I have It's Sorted by Cheekface.
Success is cringe. I wanna be on the fringe.
Lyrically witty, anxious, and extremely self-aware, this just feels like a bunch of geeks having fun and being their unfiltered and corny selves. At number 34, I have Cold Visions by Blade. Blade is historically pretty hit or miss for me, but this one mostly hits. The pacing here is fantastic, both because of the transitions between tracks, but also just the relentless energy. There's not much downtime on this thing when you aren't being thrown right into the beats. I think this is the best he's sounded over this more rage/trap-leaning production as well. At number 33, I have Dark Times by Vince Staples.
Chase checks, little homie, cause the money bring the power and respect, little homie.
This is kind of a return to form for Vince. I've gotten a sense of who Vince is on previous albums, but this album feels like his most intimate and personal. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance here about the success that he's achieved in comparison to the harsh reality of the life that he used to live. It's clear he's somewhat uncomfortable with the feeling that he's, as Vince himself puts it, the only one living the dream. At number 32, I have Charm by Clairo. The soft vocal indie queen, Clairo, returned this year with a much anticipated follow-up to Sling. And while this project occasionally feels one-dimensional, Clairo essentially blends the soft acoustic sounds of Sling with the danceable grooves of Immunity to create an album full of confidence and finesse. Her next project will probably have to offer more of a stylistic switch-up to keep me interested, but this is a solid enough record for this point in her career. At number 31, I have Smile by Porter Robinson. Porter Robinson's follow-up to Nurture seems to kind of follow in the same footsteps lyrically, with a genuine sincerity and self-reflection that makes it feel extremely personal. Porter's embrace of more straightforward pop melodies and song structures makes for some of his most catchy, immediate, and fun tracks to date. At number 30, I have 2 Star and the Dream Police by McGee. McGee does such a great job of crafting atmospheres that are skeletal yet extremely textured and detailed. The vocals are either covered in effects or kind of baked into the instrumental, but the vocal chops are definitely still there. The guitars, percussion, and synths give this album a sort of stringy and thin feel, but the songwriting often calls back to Sade-adjacent 90s R&B, giving this record a nostalgic yet otherworldly tone. At number 29, I have Cowboy Carter by Beyonce. With its wild genre fusions, vocal performances that exude passion, and a genuine understanding of what makes country music great, Beyonce really created something special here. Not every risk taken lands, but it's just exciting to have a figure of Beyonce's popularity making some extremely ambitious and fresh music in the pop sphere. At number 28, I have No Hands by Joey Valence and Bray. I mean, this is just raw white boy energy on full display. Colorful and hard-hitting production, witty lyrics, and some really catchy choruses makes for a fun rap record that pays homage to 90s boom bap. At number 27, I have Glimmer of God by Gene Dawson. This album is a much needed stylistic switch up for Gene, as his last project felt messy, incoherent, and extremely muddy. This album opts for a more soulful and sweet palette that strays away from the extremely blown out production that he experimented with in the past. This is also Gene's most varied project to date. You get some psychedelic trap, soulful balladry, 80s disco, and synthwave, and Gene brings his own flair to all of these sounds. This all works together to create his most exciting batch of tracks since Pixel Bath. At number 26, I have Wall of Eyes by The Smile.
I guess I believe in an altered state.
Thom Yorke and The Smile are venturing further into krautrock with this album. It's a haunting yet danceable album with more ambition than I was expecting. At number 25, I have Loss of Life by MGMT. This just does such a great job of pairing ambitious modern production with timeless and classic songwriting. They showed glimpses of this on Little Dark Age, but this feels like a more fully realized and ambitious version. With themes of existentialism, dissociation, and death, the production elevates the uncertainty, gloom, but also the beauty of these themes. At number 24, I have Big Ideas by Remi Wolf.
Hit me like a truck, burning on the 101.
Remi Wolf is one of the best personalities, vocalists, and performers in pop music today, with stellar hook writing that is sure to embed itself in your head and production that brings a real heat and sass to the record. Remi has certainly made improvements in all facets since her last record. At number 23, I have Love, the Ominous World by Blue and Exile.
It was cause I would kick it with when I'm back on the sloss.
The passion and love for hip-hop, California, and Blue's family and friends is what makes this album so inviting. Blue seems to have a genuine appreciation for his life. I mean, it's just good vibes all around. Exile's throwback West Coast production is soulful, sunny, and bright, and Blue demands attention on the mic with his laid-back and confident delivery. At number 22, I have You Like Music by Death's Dynamic Shroud. If you want some incredibly spastic, frantic, and overstimulating electronic music, look no further than this record. With its stuttering rhythms, impressively varied and detailed texture work, and incredibly catchy vocal sampling, it's essentially hardcore IDM that'll get under your skin and smack you in the face at the same time. At number 21, I have No Title as of 13 February 2024, 28,340 Dead by Godspeed You, Black Emperor. Godspeed's music kind of lends itself perfectly to the type of messaging that we have in the album title. Obviously, this title referring to the ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict that is just absolutely horrible. The meditative and progressive nature of this music forces you to think about not only that conflict, but to kind of remove yourself from the picture and just kind of think about humanity in general. It's a testament to Godspeed's artistry that they can achieve this without any lyrics whatsoever. At number 20, I have Rich Ass Haitian by Makami.
Flip you on the track like Tyshawn Jones, pardon. Since you wanted raps, I got some raw codes, oh Lord.
I'm not going to pretend to act like I know everything that's going on here lyrically, but man, Makami's care and thought put into every verse here is beautiful. The soulful production is fantastic, and Makami just glides over these beats effortlessly. At number 19, I have Memoirs in Armor by Navy Blue.
Spirit but a cell phone, connect my upper echelon. Station in the crib when I get the call.
This is definitely more straightforward instrumentally than his previous record. It feels more loop-based, more sample-based, but this also gives Navy Blue a lot of space to deliver his heartfelt lyrics. Navy Blue has just such a great tone to his voice that keeps me coming back. It's laid back, but it also has enough oomph and power to it to make his words feel like they have a lot of passion put behind them. There's no bangers here, there isn't going to be anything that wows you right away, but the ethereal sampling and meditative pace of this album is just really fun to float along to. At number 18, I have No Name by Jack White. This is one of the catchiest albums of the year, and most of that comes from the guitars. The riffs are so instantly memorable, but not in a way that feels manufactured, cheap, or forced. There's a classic quality to these riffs that makes them have a lot of power behind them, but also be extremely singable as well. At number 17, I have Patterns in Repeat by Laura Marling.
Zina, you're square.
This is one of the most tender, gentle, and warm albums that I've heard this year. Vocally, Marling seems to kind of draw heavy influence from Fiona Apple, but also manages to deliver extremely intimate and gentle vocal performances. Family seems to be a central theme of this record. Whether Laura is writing about her daughter or performing a song written by her father, her familial relationships make up the thematic DNA of this record, and makes for an album that is extremely relatable and heartfelt. At number 16 is Only God Was Above Us by Vampire Weekend. The boys have taken their sound to another level on this one. They do a great job of combining their classic songwriting with kind of new and strange production, piercing guitar tones, and a surprising amount of trip-hop kind of drum beats as well. This is a great display of artistic evolution while simultaneously sticking to what makes them great. At number 15, Something in the Room She Moves by Julia Holter. This record requires a lot of patience due to its slow pacing, but that slow nature is also what makes it really special. The meandering melodies and unpredictable structure of these songs creates an otherworldly and often unsettling atmosphere. It takes a couple tracks for this album to grab my attention, but from the track Me You until the end, each song does such a great job of adding to the unnerving tone that that track establishes. At number 14 is The Great Bailout by More Mother.
The Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, the Spanish, the Americas.
This record was my introduction to More Mother, an American poet, musician, and activist. She has experience writing lyrics for free jazz, and you can definitely see that background come through on this kind of experimental jazz poetry album. This thing definitely drained me emotionally. On the first listen, the harsh and unsettling soundscape is what really grabbed my ear, but on more listens, the messaging really starts to come through. It's an urgent and ugly criticism of European colonialism driven by deep sorrow and anger. The free-flowing backing vocals, mouth sounds, and production make this feel like it's improvisational and purely based on visceral feeling. A lot of this record just feels like a direct and uncompromising portrayal of this artist's mind. At number 13, Night Palace by Mount Eerie. While I do enjoy Phil's more stripped back and acoustic albums, it's always been his most dense, noisy, and varied albums that connect with me more. I mean, just look at The Glow Part 2, for example. And Night Palace is exactly that. I mean, you still get Phil's classic existentialist writing and almost spoken word vocal delivery that has become such a staple for him. But the sweeter, more vocal-driven moments are sandwiched in between these really noisy, abrasive, and harsh instrumental sections that really gives the album a nice push and pull effect. Phil has always been a master of making things feel intentionally messy, and that's exactly what we get here. This isn't necessarily pushing his own boundaries, but even a more safe project from Phil Elverum is still going to be one of the more interesting albums you'll hear in any given year. At number 12, Chromacopia by Tyler, the Creator.
I hope you find yourself. I hope you find yourself.
There's no doubt that this is one of Tyler's most fun, childish, animated, yet technically impressive albums to date. It blends the energy of the Cherry Bomb era with his more soulful and mature songwriting that he developed on Flower Boy and Igor, and just continues to offer extremely self-aware and mature perspectives. At number 11 is In Waves by Jamie XX. On the surface, this album seems like kind of just a fun dance record, which it certainly is, but as you get towards the end of the track list, the tone becomes moodier, more cinematic, and more serious. The last track kind of uses the club atmosphere as a way to discuss ideas such as existentialism and the feeling of our own insignificance. With dance music being a large point of emphasis in pop music recently, it's records like this that stand out even more because of how skillful and textured the production is when compared to its counterpoint in pop music. The sample chops have this kind of kinetic energy to them, the vocal leads are insanely catchy, and the grooves get under your skin in the best way possible. I'm absolutely blown away by the production here, and the subtle progression of the album was an unexpected but welcome surprise. All right, we're moving into the top 10 here. It is top 10 time. At number 10, I have GNX by Kendrick Lamar.
Niggas second bad, but somebody gotta do it. Got my foot up on the gas, but somebody gotta do it.
Kendrick wraps up his year of domination by essentially putting a bow on his most dominant and important year as an artist since T-Pab. GNX is confrontational, blunt, and one of Kendrick's most accessible albums to date. It leans into the trap and West Coast aesthetics that he flirted with on Not Like Us, while also feeling extremely cinematic, dark, and surprisingly menacing at points. Kendrick is at a point in his career where he's not afraid to have fun with his music and not take himself too seriously. He's always been known for his more colorful vocal delivery, but this album has even more vocal eccentricities and fireworks. While some of Kendrick's albums in the past have had some underwhelming attempts at more melodic tracks, this album is also an improvement in that regard. With SZA being featured twice, she does a fantastic job in helping these melodic tracks reach the next level. The entire experience doesn't feel as profound as I'm accustomed to hearing from Kendrick, but there's something to be said about how laser-focused Kendrick is in creating a memorable, catchy, and cohesive sonic victory lap. At number 9 is Prelude to Ecstasy by The Last Dinner Party.
And I'm falling like the leaves on Let It Go.
I mean, an indie rock record that sounds like Black Country New Road and hints of Paramore's newest record? Yes, please. This being the first official album from this band is extremely impressive. This album knows exactly what it wants to be and is executed with so much care and attention to detail. Even the more straightforward and catchy moments here have this alluring quality that I know will just keep me coming back over and over again. The vocals are stellar and occasionally bring shades of Hayley Williams. The production and each instrumental texture is just brimming with personality, and the writing is consistently thought-provoking. Again, this is shockingly good for a debut record, and I cannot wait to see what this band does next. At number 8 is You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To by Knocked Loose. This is maybe the only hardcore / metal record that I have on this list, and for good reason. There's a fine line between screamed vocals that can feel forced and corny, and screamed vocals that are genuinely harrowing and visceral, and the vocalist Brian Garris reaches that level here. There's moments where the vocals are layered and create something that doesn't even sound human. It's just impressive how a human can create these sounds that are as ugly as they are while still remaining coherent. The industrial aspects of this record work really well too. You obviously get the punch-you-in-the-face guitars that you expect on an album like this, but the spacey guitars, interesting percussion switch-ups, and overall cinematic feeling make this feel like more than something to just headbang to. At number 7 is Bright Future by Adrian Lenker.
We could see the sadness as a gift and still.
Adrian has taken her songwriting to another level on this album. The opening track lets you know right away how emotionally heavy this album is going to be. With its extremely slow-paced and pained piano chords and heart-wrenching lyrics, it's a bold way to start off the record and might just be one of her best songs ever. Don't worry though, this album isn't all doom and gloom. The variety of moods within the emotional weight is what makes this album so great. There's the visceral writing and insistent vocal delivery on Vampire Empire, but just 3 tracks earlier, you get the playful and joyous Fool. The raw and stripped back production on this album allows Adrian's stellar writing to be at the forefront, but also takes hold when it needs to. I think this is Adrian's most well-written and emotionally striking album yet, and while it's not my favorite album from her, there's a reason that it's at number 7 on this list. At number 6 is Lives Outgrown by Beth Gibbons. Beth Gibbons of Portishead made an unexpected return for her first solo album since 2002, and no, it isn't trip-hop. This is a dense, lush, and cinematic chamber folk record. There's touches of Radiohead, Swans, and Sufjan Stevens to this, and taking Beth Gibbons' haunting vocal presence that was established with Portishead and putting it in this new folk kind of context makes me have even more appreciation for how stunning her vocals are. There's a lot of beauty to this thing, but it's really the looming sense of gloom that really grabs my ear. We're moving into the top 5. At 5, I have Scrapyard by Quadeca.
All your sense in a world I couldn't count to your head.
What Quedeca deems as scraps are seriously some of the most innovative, passionate, and well-produced songs of the year. Quedeca's songwriting and sense of song structure has improved even further since his last album. This easily has his best rap performances to date, showing that Quedeca now has the confidence to bring back parts of his older music and incorporate it with his new style. This thing is full of range and really shows that Quedeca is a force to be reckoned with. Yeah, this album just has me extremely hyped for his next album, which I thought was supposed to be coming out this year, but will probably come out in 2025. At number 4, I have The New Sound by Jordy Griep. After the sudden separation of the beloved music nerd art rock outfit Black Midi, frontman Jordy Griep very quickly released his first solo album, and it absolutely blew me away. I'm genuinely shocked at how emotionally invested I was in this album. I'd always appreciated how technically impressive Black Midi's music was, but there was rarely like a deep emotional connection to their music. This is completely different. The toxic, desperate, and madly lovesick individual being portrayed here is extremely gripping because of how direct and blunt it is. Jordy will have you disgusted at one moment, laughing at the next, and crying at the next. Of course, the music here is phenomenal. Jordy takes the busyness and complexity of Black Midi and pairs it with some Latin stylings and more theatrical fusions of jazz and prog rock. This album is definitely a lot, and it may turn some people off because of that, but I think the unfiltered and unapologetic nature of this is what truly makes it great. At number 3 is Imaginal Disc by Magdalena Bay. My history with Magdalena Bay is brief, as before hearing this, I had only heard their album Mercurial World from 2021, and I think that's kind of the case for general audiences. While sure, they've had a passionate fan base for a while, this year kind of feels like their breakout into wider mass appeal. It's no fluke that an album like this caused that breakout, as Imaginal Disc is, simply put, one of the most immersive albums of the year. It's just a playground for textural experimentation. The production is simultaneously whimsical, psychedelic, groovy, spacey, and punchy. These songs strike a perfect balance of instrumental ear candy, atmospheric meandering sections, and traditional pop songwriting. It's extremely catchy, but also extremely detailed, and is the poster child for pop music that doesn't have to be watered down or bland to be generally accessible. With how well received this album has been by music nerds, it's no doubt that Magdalena Bay has a bright future ahead. All right, at number 2 is, drumroll, Brat by Charli XCX. I mean, removing all the cultural impact that this album had this year, the music itself is undeniably fun, thought-provoking, hard-hitting, catchy, and detailed. Coming after Crash, a record that was enjoyed by die-hard Charli fans, but deemed as one of her more bland records by the general public, you could say that Charli had a certain level of pressure coming into this album. And what Charli delivered here is one of her most conceptually focused and consistent albums that she's ever released. The club aesthetic of this album is fully leaned into, and the character/idea of Brat is one that Charli understands how to simultaneously lean into unforgivingly on a track like Von Dutch, but also poke fun at on a track like Mean Girls. But what makes this album really special is when she gets to the heart of Brat. Those insecurities and the facade of confidence that is displayed or put up to hide those insecurities. And she talks about it on a track like I Think About It All the Time. In a year that was defined by the pop girls, Charli went above and beyond in delivering the most mature, self-aware, and well-produced pop album of the year. All right, number one time, guys. Number one. Any guesses? Any guesses, guys? You guys probably know what it is. If you've been watching the videos, you know. You know. Number 1, my favorite album of 2024 is I Lay Down My Life For You by JPEG Mafia. Following Peggy's masterful collab album with Danny Brown last year, it was hard to believe that he could top that album at all, and let alone in such quick succession. But he did, guys. He did. While you could say that this album is Peggy's most accessible to date, I think that's actually part of the reason why it's his best. He perfectly balances the weirdo, glitchy, internet-infused production that made his earlier work stand out with more traditional song structures and catchy sampling. And this works to create an album that has his most memorable songs while still having that edge. The mixing and production on this album is just absolutely perfect. With hard-hitting low-end, sparkly synth textures, and creative sample chops, the production just fills the headphones effortlessly and demands your attention. Peggy also experiments with more rock-infused production, often using more traditional rock drums and guitars. There's also moments where he uses these sweeping strings in such a beautiful way, at points feeling inspired by Bjork's Vespertine. In general, this is Peggy's most grand, maximalist, yet also detailed record yet. And simply put, with this album, Peggy proved that he is the single most skilled and forward-thinking producer today. Vocally and lyrically, Peggy does what we've come to expect from him: animated and colorful vocal delivery, hilarious lyrics that instantly grab your ear, and a general personality that feels really singular and distinct. Nobody in hip-hop is bringing as much personality as consistently as Peggy is. For me, this is a 10 out of 10 album. It's absolutely perfect, and Peggy has reached generational artist status with this record, and it's beautiful to see. So there you go. Those were my top 50 albums of 2024. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if anything's missing that you think should be in here. Obviously, I couldn't get to every album that was released this year. I think I've listened to just over 100 albums this year, so not as much as I have in years past. But yeah, that's the top 50 list. Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in 2025.